When I got into an argument with my childhood friend, he suddenly lost control and slapped me hard across the face in front of everyone. That same day, I deleted all of his contact information. No one could believe it. After all, Michael and I had grown up together. I had liked him since we were kids and had followed him around for 9 whole years. "Why?" he asked in confusion. "Just because of one slap." "Yes," I said calmly without hesitation. When Michael hit me across the face, I didn't even register what was happening. There was a dull, heavy smack and I staggered backward. My head buzzed from the impact. My left cheek turned hot first, then it burned like fire. I held my face and looked at him in shock. My childhood friend, Michael, had just slapped me in front of everyone because of a dispute about a transfer student. Michael suddenly realized what he had done. His expression froze for a moment, then quickly twisted with anger and impatience. "Can you stop causing drama here?" "Jenny, go back to your seat." There were a few mocking snickers in the classroom, but most people just stayed silent, watching the scene unfold like a show. Next to Michael stood Flora, casually playing with her pretty green curls. She let out a sigh and said, "Michael, what are you doing? Can't you see your little princess is about to cry?" Michael's voice turned even colder. "Jenny, if you're going to cry, go do it at home. This is a school, not a place for you to throw your princess tantrums whenever you feel like it." Shame, humiliation, and anger all surged in me at once. Huge tears rolled down my cheeks, and as the boys in the class burst into laughter, I rushed out of the classroom. I had no idea where I was going. I just didn't want to go back to class, and I didn't want to face any of those people. The truth is, Michael had never really been patient with me. But that slap, that was the first time, not just from him. It was the first time in my life anyone had ever hit me. Michael and I had known each other since we were 3 years old. Our parents had been good friends for over 10 years, and we lived across the hall from each other in the same apartment building. I had liked him since I was little. Back in elementary school, I used to get bullied a lot by boys. One boy in particular was especially cruel. He sat behind me, yanked my hair, stuck chewing gum to my chair, and even put little firecrackers inside my desk. I cried and went to the teacher who scolded him, but then laughed and said, "He's just doing that because he likes you." I didn't believe it, and the boy didn't change. I went home and told my parents. They were furious and wanted to go straight to the school. That day, Uncle Jack, Michael's father, was visiting our house. When he heard what happened, he called Michael over and told him to protect me at school from then on. Michael and I were the same age, but we weren't in the same class at the time. The next day during recess, Michael walked into my classroom, dragged that boy out, and beat him up. Michael had always been tall and tough. He made that boy and his friends cry out loud. Before leaving, he warned the rest of the boys, "If anyone dares to bully Jenny again, just wait and see." That's when I started liking him. From then on, I followed him everywhere. I stuck to him like glue. Wherever he went, I went too. Michael didn't like having me around. He had a strong sense of masculinity and felt that hanging out with a weak girl like me didn't suit him. But I was persistent and never gave up. I kept chasing after him, always calling him Michael, Big Brother. Years passed like that. Gradually, he softened and stopped pushing me away so much. I began to notice that he would look at me a little longer, and sometimes when our eyes met, he would seem dazed for a moment. Sometimes when our eyes met, it felt like a jolt of electricity passed through him. He'd stammer, blush, and quickly change the subject. One time, Uncle Jack joked, "Since you two are so close, why not just arrange a childhood engagement?" Michael didn't say anything, but he held my hand tightly. I saw his ears turn red, and my heart felt so warm and sweet. I shouted happily, "Yes, I want to marry Michael when I grow up." But everything started to change once we got to high school. At the end of our first semester of freshman year, a transfer student joined our class. Her name was Flora, and she transferred schools because of her parents' job relocation. She had excellent grades and a striking, pretty face. On her first day, she walked into the classroom with a head full of green curls and smiled cheekily at the homeroom teacher. "Teacher, this is natural. My hair is naturally light and it just curls like this," she explained playfully. Then she turned to scan the room. Her gaze landed on me and lingered for a few seconds. Suddenly, she burst out laughing. Oh my God, where did this Barbie princess come from? Everything's pink? Seriously? You're still acting cute in high school? That's so embarrassing. Everyone turned to look at me. My face flushed red on the spot. I've always loved the color pink. I mean, really loved it. Almost everything I owned was pink. My backpack, my water bottle, my hair clips, t-shirts, sweaters, phone case, even the little trinkets hanging off my bag. Because of that, I'd always attracted some comments. Back in elementary school, some boys called me fake or too girly, and even some girls said I was trying too hard to be cute. But most people were kind about it. A lot of girls told me I was super adorable and that pink suited me perfectly. This was the first time someone had mocked me so bluntly and publicly. I was stunned and ashamed. I just wanted to crawl into a hole and disappear. "Ha ha, sorry," Flora said with a wink, pretending to be playful. "I tend to speak my mind. Don't take it personally, little princess." "All right, that's enough for your first day. Maybe talk a little less." A cold and irritated voice cut in. I turned to see Michael frowning at her, clearly unhappy. Flora raised an eyebrow and stared at him. "Oh, the princess's knight has arrived. What's your problem?" Michael lost it. "Are you insane?" he snapped, slamming his hand on the desk as he stood up. The teacher quickly stepped in, scolding him and telling him to sit down. Then she assigned Flora the only available seat in class, which just so happened to be right in front of Michael. And just like that, they became seatmates. I didn't know when they started getting close. It just happened all of a sudden. One day, Uncle Jack stopped asking Michael to bring me strawberry milk every morning. Instead, he brought plain milk. I stared at the carton in my hand, annoyed. "You know I hate plain milk. How could you forget that?" I complained. Michael looked a little impatient. "It's just because the strawberry milk comes in a pink carton, right? You're not a kid anymore drinking strawberry milk every day. From now on, you're drinking plain milk. It's healthier." He patted my head like he was lecturing me. Flora, who was holding a carton of plain milk too, turned around and gave me a sheepish smile. "Sorry, Pinky. I like plain milk, so I asked Michael to bring that instead. Strawberry milk's way too sweet. It's honestly kinda gross. Do all you girly girls like drinking that stuff?" I set the milk down, refusing to look at her. "Do you just enjoy giving people nicknames?" I asked coldly. Her face shifted to a look of mock surprise and helplessness. "Wow, why are you taking it so seriously?" "I was just joking. You're way too sensitive. Am I sensitive or are you just guilty? Because you know exactly what you're doing." "All right, Jenny," Michael interrupted us, rubbing his temples like he was getting a headache. "Flora doesn't always think before she speaks. Don't take it to heart." Michael tried to calm me down, but I was furious. My eyes were red with anger. I shoved him hard and snapped. "If she doesn't know how to talk properly, then she shouldn't talk at all." Michael was startled and quickly wrapped his arms around my waist, blurting out, Okay, I'm sorry. Don't be mad anymore. I'll bring you strawberry milk again tomorrow." "All right." Flora's expression shifted instantly. She stared at me, her face darkening. And from that day on, she began targeting me. When I took out a pack of pink tissues, she exclaimed loudly, "Whoa, even your tissues are pink. Are you trying to turn yourself into a Barbie doll?" During a cleaning session, I wiped the broom handle with a wet tissue. Flora raised her brows at the boys and joked, "Here comes the princess and her germophobia." Every 2 weeks, we changed seats. When I was tired from moving desks and sat down for a moment, Flora shouted across the room, "The princess can't lift her royal table. Quick, a few nights. Come help her out." The boys who were close with her laughed along like it was the funniest thing ever, each one laughing harder than the last. At first, Michael found it a bit inappropriate and tried to stop it a couple of times. But Flora would always wave it off, saying she was just joking and that I needed to lighten up. "I'm just helping her get along better with everyone," she'd say with a smile. Michael would nod thoughtfully and mutter, "Maybe Jenny does act a bit like a princess sometimes. Girls these days are kind of like that, right?" Flora playfully punched his shoulder. Hey, don't lump me in with her." "I'm not like that." "All right." Michael just chuckled and my heart ached. Deep down, I always knew Michael thought I was delicate, too sensitive and easily upset. Maybe for most boys, liking pink, being a little obsessive about cleanliness, and having a soft personality was enough to label a girl with princess syndrome. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore. That summer, I went to the beach with my parents and got a pretty bad tan. It wasn't the first time. Usually, after staying indoors for a couple of weeks, my skin would return to normal, so I didn't pay much attention. When the new semester started, I wore a light pink blouse under my school uniform. Flora spotted it and immediately raised her voice in that over-the-top way of hers. "Oh my God, Jenny! Your skin's so dark now and you're still wearing that shade of pink. Don't you think that's hilarious? What kind of princess looks like that? You look more like a little black dog." Haha. She and a few of the boys burst out laughing. Michael smirked too, the corners of his lips twitching upward. That moment crushed me. Shame and helplessness flooded my chest. I felt blood rushing to my head, my fists clenched tight. Amid their laughter, I grabbed my water bottle and splashed it right into Flora's face. Flora was stunned. She frantically wiped her dripping face, and to my surprise, she was wearing makeup. The water had smeared her foundation and mascara. "What the hell is wrong with you? Are you crazy?" she screamed. I mimicked her tone mockingly. "Oh, what's this? Double eyelid tape, foundation, and lipstick. No wonder you're not a princess. You're a clown. You're just here to play a part, huh? A performer?" A few of the boys stepped in, frowning and blocking me. Michael led the group. He yanked the water bottle from my hand and glared down at me, his face stern. "Apologize to her, Jenny." I stared at him, eyes burning. "Didn't you hear what she called me? She said I look like a dog." "One thing at a time," Michael said coldly. "You already insulted her back. Now you need to apologize for throwing water on her. Own up when you do something wrong. Be good. Don't throw a tantrum." He said it like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Apologize. Flora won't hold it against you." I let out a cold laugh. "You?" Michael's eyes widened in disbelief. Without warning, he slapped me hard across the face. I didn't go to class for the rest of that day. I went straight home and rushed into my room. I tore through everything. My bookshelves, my closet, my storage bins, leaving the whole place a mess. I grabbed a big cardboard box and started digging out every single thing Michael had ever given me from when we were kids until now. I dumped it all in. The box was completely full by the time I was done. I double-checked to make sure I hadn't missed anything, then carried it downstairs and threw the entire thing into the trash. When I finished, my parents hadn't come home yet. I called my mom. "Hey, sweetie, what's wrong?" She answered, I said coldly. "Mom, when you get home today, please go talk to Uncle Jack and Aunt May. Tell them that I'm cutting ties with Michael. From now on, he's not allowed to step into our house. Tell him to stay as far away from me as possible." When Mom came home, she took one look at the slap mark on my face and was both furious and heartbroken. I told her everything that had been happening lately. She listened, her expression growing darker with every word. Without hesitation, she went straight to Michael's apartment and knocked on the door. Aunt May opened it confused, but before she could say anything, my mom laid it all out. She told her how Michael had slapped me hard, how he stood by and let Flora bully me with her words, mocking me, and never once stepped in to stop it. How in the end, he even defended Flora and protected her in front of everyone. Aunt May's face turned pale, then green, then white. The two families had been close for so many years. But that night, because of me, a crack formed between us. And yet my mom didn't blame me. She looked at me gently and said, "Jenny, you must never let anyone bully you. No matter what choice you make, your dad and I will always support you." All the frustration and sadness I'd been holding back finally burst free. My nose tingled, and I threw myself into her arms, crying. That night, Michael must have found the box of things I'd thrown out. He came back furious and pounded on my door. "Jenny, come out. We need to talk." I opened it to see his face cold and stiff with anger. "Why did you throw away everything I gave you?" "What does it have to do with you?" I stared at him coldly. The mark from that morning's slap was still on my face. He hadn't held back. The outline of his fingers was still clearly visible, and instead of fading, it had actually gotten worse. Michael's expression shifted. He froze, staring at the bruise on my face, stunned. How? How did it get this bad? He murmured. He reached out to touch me, but I stepped back emotionless. I rarely got hurt. Even when I did, I used to tear up and run to Michael, demanding he comfort me. It wasn't that I was afraid of pain. I just liked playing the part of the clingy girl in front of someone I loved. Sometimes I'd have scratches that I wouldn't even notice for days. But Michael, despite calling me fragile and dramatic, actually enjoyed being needed by me. Not anymore. He had never seen me like this, so distant, so detached. For a moment, he couldn't believe it. I didn't mean it. He said, "My Jenny, I just got mad because of what you said." I lost it. I cut him off. "Since you're here, let's get this straight. Starting today, we're strangers. From now on, use my full name when you speak to me. If you see me at school, don't talk to me and don't ever show up at my house like this again." As soon as I finished, I moved to close the door. Michael grabbed my wrist, his eyes locked on mine. His face shifted from guilt to anger, then confusion. "Seriously, just because I slapped you, you're cutting me off like this," he said, trying to stay calm. "Fine, I'll apologize." "Okay, don't you think you're being way too extreme? What if I regret it later?" "I won't. Why?" he asked, gritting his teeth. "Because of that slap." "You're really doing this over one slap?" "Yes," I said with unwavering certainty. "Fine. If that's what you want, then so be it," Michael snapped. Furious, he turned and slammed the door behind him. The next day, Michael and Flora made a big announcement in class. They were officially dating. I wasn't surprised. Thinking back on it now, the signs were all there. When Flora first transferred to our class, she quickly became close with the boys thanks to her cheerful and outgoing personality. But she rarely interacted with the girls. In her own words, "Ugh, I only like hanging out with boys. It's just easier. They don't talk behind your back. Girls are always so calculating and full of drama. I can't deal with it. And those little princess types say one wrong thing and they'll hold a grudge forever. I just don't get along with girls. I feel way more comfortable around guys." Because of statements like that, most of the girls in our class didn't like her. Flora would glance over at the boys and shrug dramatically. I know, she'd say with a helpless smile. I shouldn't have said. Girls are full of drama. Now I've really pissed them off. I'm probably going to get excluded by another girl. Click, whatever. I'm used to it. And just like that, she put all of us in a weird in-between position. She was the one who refused to hang out with us, called us overly sensitive and dramatic. But when none of the girls talked to her, she turned around and accused us of isolating her and forming cliques to exclude her. At home, I couldn't help venting to my parents. "Sweetie," my mom said gently, "I understand how you feel. I've met people like that too. When you run into someone like her, the best thing to do is ignore it. Don't let it affect you. And whatever you do, don't get too close." Michael happened to be visiting our house that day. When he overheard the conversation, his face turned cold. He was the kind of person who disliked gossiping about others behind their backs. "Uncle, Auntie," he said seriously, "I don't think it's very nice to talk about people like this." My parents and I were caught off guard and fell into awkward silence. Later on, I learned that at some point, Michael and Flora had already developed a close friendship. Flora was good at English, and since she sat in front of him, she often volunteered to tutor him. He had always struggled in English. I used to be the one who helped him with that. But just 2 weeks after she transferred, Flora had naturally taken over my role. She also played basketball and got along well with the boys, many of whom were Michael's close friends. So it was only natural that they became tighter. Michael's opinion of her started to change too. The girl who had mocked me on the first day of school became, in his eyes, someone cheerful and passionate, just a little too outspoken sometimes. And Michael, who used to stick to me all the time, quickly adapted to Flora's presence. They passed little notes to each other during class, and sometimes laughed out loud without even trying to hide it. After school, she'd ride on the back of his bike, laughing brightly as she joked and chatted with his group of friends. I often watched them with a sinking feeling in my chest, but I kept telling myself they were just friends. I believed Michael liked me, but reality slapped me in the face. I was just being delusional and overconfident. "I'm actually dating Michael now," Flora said cheerfully, sitting right on his lap. Not like some people using the childhood friend card to cling to him and offer themselves up for free. Then she glanced sideways as if it was nothing and added, "Oh, by the way, I know girls like to run to the teacher and tattle, but I hope certain classmates won't report us for dating. That'd be really low class." Michael said nothing. Some classmates congratulated them. Others glanced over at me to see my reaction. Everyone in class knew Michael and I had grown up together, and everyone knew I liked him. He was the only boy I was close to, and for a long time I had been the only girl by his side. My deskmate looked at me with concern, but I didn't lift my head. I kept reading my book. The atmosphere in the room was suddenly very awkward. Michael let out a cold snort and looked away. After that, the two of them grew even closer. During breaks, Flora would pull off her hair tie and toss it onto Michael's hand, bossing him around and telling him not to take it off. In class, they passed notes under the table, and Michael would occasionally burst out laughing in the middle of a lecture. At lunch, they ate together, and Flora would steal chicken nuggets off Michael's tray, while he just looked at her helplessly and let her do whatever she wanted. After school, she rode behind him on his bike. Her arms clung tightly around his waist. They looked exactly like the inseparable couple they now were. After 10 years of knowing Michael, it was only natural that I'd feel uncomfortable at first. But soon enough, I got used to it. Just when I thought we had nothing left to do with each other, that evening after school, Michael stopped me at the school gate. "Jenny." His voice was low, his expression conflicted. It looked like a mix of anger and relief. "I couldn't tell. Flora called in sick today," he said, looking straight at me. I blinked, not understanding what that had to do with me. "Okay, what about it?" Michael stared at me and said bluntly, "What did you say to her?" I paused, then answered calmly, "What could I possibly have said? I've never even spoken to her on my own initiative. I'm not the chatty type, especially not with someone like Flora. Just looking at her annoys me. If she didn't go out of her way to mess with me, I could go a whole year without saying a single word to her. So tell me, what exactly would I have said?" Michael didn't believe a word. His eyes were full of suspicion. "I took her home last night and she was totally fine. But today, she called in sick. When I called to ask what happened, she just cried and said she was sorry. She said she hurt you and begged you not to stay mad at her anymore. So tell me the truth. What did you say to her? Did you hit her? You're out of your mind." I had no patience for this. I pushed past him, trying to leave, but he yanked my wrist hard. His grip was tight, like a predator seizing prey, and his eyes locked onto me. "Jenny," he said, "I know you're upset we're dating, but you didn't have to go this far. Don't forget it was you who said we should act like strangers. If you're jealous now—" He cut himself off mid-sentence. After a moment, his tone softened. "If you just apologize, we can pretend none of this ever happened. Things can go back to the way they were." His voice was tense, like he couldn't wait for me to say yes. I'd had enough. "Are you insane?" I snapped. "Let go. Who the hell do you think you are? I already told you I didn't do anything. You two can date all you want. I'm thrilled for you. Go ahead and have 10 kids. See if I care? Just stay out of my life. Got it? Let go." Michael's face turned stormy, stunned by how cold I was being, but his grip didn't loosen one bit. Just as I was about to struggle free, a hand pressed down on Michael's arm. "Hey," a calm voice said. "Is this how you treat girls now?" I turned to look. It was a boy in a school uniform about our age. It took me a second to recognize him. It was Carson, a senior from our school. We had both represented the school in a provincial math competition once, though we hadn't really interacted much. We weren't close, but I remembered him well because his face was impossible to forget. "Why is he here?" He caught my confused expression and gave me a small, playful wink. Then he tightened his grip on Michael's arm. Michael's face darkened, his expression growing uglier by the second. I took the opportunity to pull away and ran without looking back. On Wednesday during PE, I wasn't feeling great, but I didn't think much of it. When the teacher had us run laps with the class, I joined in. The boys and girls ran separately. Girls first, boys waiting nearby. As I was running, my vision suddenly went black. My limbs felt numb and weak. That's when I realized my low blood sugar had kicked in, but it was already too late. My legs gave out, and I collapsed onto the track, knees hitting the ground hard. There were gasps all around. Footsteps rushed toward me. A strong arm wrapped around my shoulder and pulled me up. It was Michael. "You're having a low blood sugar episode," he said. "Did you skip meals again?" Michael scolded beside me. "Why would you go running when your body's like this? Can't you take better care of yourself? Did it hurt when you fell? I'll take you to the nurse." He kept rambling next to my ear, and I was already annoyed enough from the fall. The stares from everyone else made me feel even worse. I struggled to free my arm and snapped. "Don't touch me. I can walk by myself," he growled. "Is now really the time for attitude? Can you think about your health for once? I'll just walk you to the nurse's office and leave. Will that satisfy you?" I let out a laugh, completely fed up. What is low blood sugar, some kind of terminal illness now? I just need to sit for a bit and I'll be fine. Am I dying? Do I need you to escort me to the nurse's office? Michael clenched his teeth, his voice low and tense. "Why do you have to be so ungrateful?" I stared at him calmly. "If that's how you want to see it, then there's nothing I can do." He threw my arm off and stormed away without looking back. There weren't many people in the nurse's office, just one student sitting on one of the beds. It was Carson. His eyes lit up when he saw me, and he smiled brightly. "Hey, Jenny, what a coincidence, huh? You're here too?" I gave him a small, indifferent nod. But then I noticed he was actually hurt, worse than me by a lot. His knee was wrapped in a thick layer of gauze, soaked through with blood. The white bandage had already turned a deep red. He caught me staring and looked down at his leg. Scratching his head awkwardly, he said, "Yeah." The ground on the court had a loose patch. I didn't notice and fell during a game. "It's nothing serious, just a scrape." Then he glanced at me. "What about you? Are you okay?" I vaguely remembered hearing that Carson was the captain of the school's basketball team. He was kind of famous on campus. Just looking at that bloody gauze made me wince somehow. His cheerful attitude made me warm up a little. "I'm fine, just low blood sugar." I said, "You should rest." Carson nodded enthusiastically, his grin still bright, showing no sign of being in pain. Over the next few days, because of my low blood sugar and also my period and Carson's knee injury, we ran into each other every morning during the school's exercise period in the nurse's office. Over time, we grew more familiar with each other. Carson was the kind of person who easily made friends. He was outgoing, gentle, and good at sensing people's moods. Being around him was surprisingly relaxing. One day, while sitting on the infirmary bed, he looked at me with a shy smile. "Jenny, I think our friendship could go a bit further. What do you think?" I was startled and immediately shook my head, firmly refusing him, but he didn't give up. A week later, when we didn't need to go to the nurse's office anymore, he started looking for me every morning during our long break. Sometimes he brought candy. Sometimes he brought my favorite kind of milk. Once he arrived, he'd stick close to my desk and chatter endlessly. What made it worse was that the girls around me always happily gave up their seats for him. Gradually, rumors started to spread all over campus. Everyone was talking about how Carson, the senior heartthrob, was dating a sophomore girl. People were saying it was me. I denied it, but no one believed me. They just gave me that yeah, sure kind of look and said, "If you don't want to admit it, that's fine." "But everyone already knows." The girl sitting behind me leaned in and whispered excitedly, "Hey, I've got a question. Is it true that Carson has an 8-pack? I blinked. "How would I know that?" She pouted. Don't keep secrets from your girls. We're just curious. I mean, when he plays games, he never lifts his shirt to wipe his sweat. No girl's ever seen him shirtless. The guy's a 10 out of 10, you know." Even my seatmate joined in nudging me. I heard from someone on the team that he really does have an 8-pack. "You're his only girlfriend. Of course you've seen it, right? Come on, share. What's it like? Is it amazing? What did it feel like to touch them?" One of the girls asked. I tried to recall. "He never lifts his shirt," I said. "That's not quite right." I think I remember back when we were in the nurse's office. He always said it was hot and kept complaining about the lack of air conditioning. Sometimes he'd just tug his shirt up to wipe off sweat. I thought about it more. Yeah, I had seen it. He was actually pretty slim. But touching? No, I'd never touched him. Oh my God, girl. You're living the dream. Before I could even finish speaking, the girl behind me suddenly shouted excitedly, "Shut up. I only glanced a few times." I defended myself quickly. This has nothing to do with me. I hurried to cover her mouth. Right then, a loud crash cut through the classroom. We all turned toward the sound. Michael had dropped a glass cup, shattering it. His face was pale like a ghost. It took him a few seconds to react before he slowly bent down to pick up the pieces. As he gathered the shards, Flora suddenly let out a sharp cry. "Michael, your hand!" That's when I noticed the blood. His fingers had been cut and fresh. Bright red blood was running down onto the floor. He just stared at his hand, not saying anything, like he was somewhere else entirely. "I've got tissues, come here. I'll wrap it for you." Flora reached out to grab his hand, but Michael shook her off. Then, in front of everyone, he walked toward me. The cut was deep, but it was like he couldn't feel a thing. Blood dripped steadily onto the floor as he stepped up in front of me. He looked down and said quietly, "I'm hurt. Can I get a Band-Aid?" I looked at him in silence. I always kept Band-Aids on me. Michael knew that. Back when we were kids, he used to get into fights for me all the time. In elementary school, boys would pull my braids, flip my skirt, or stuff weird things in my desk or backpack to scare me. When we got to middle school, a boy who liked me got mad when I rejected him, and along with his buddies, spread rumors that I was promiscuous, flirting with boys, leading them on, accepting their gifts. Michael beat them up one by one. After that, no one dared spread rumors about me again. There was even a time when that same boy gathered some guys after school and ambushed Michael in the hallway. Our school had floor-to-ceiling glass panels then, and Michael was caught off guard. They pushed him straight through the glass. He crashed through the window and landed on the ground covered in shards. Luckily, it was only the first floor, so the fall wasn't too bad, but his arms were torn to shreds by the broken glass. When I found him, his uniform was soaked in blood. His face was twitching in pain, but he still gritted his teeth and told me it didn't hurt. I couldn't stop crying, my vision blurry with tears as his wounds continued to bleed. From that day on, I always carried Band-Aids with me, even though I handled things on my own after that, never telling Michael when I got hurt because I didn't want him to worry. That habit never changed. He used to tease me for being overly dramatic, but I could see the smile in his eyes. I knew he actually liked it, but when Flora transferred, she once saw my Hello Kitty Band-Aids falling out of my bag and laughed. "You're already grown up and still using Hello Kitty Band-Aids. That's so childish. Even when you're hurt, you're trying to act cute." Michael had laughed too and nodded. I pulled myself out of the memory and looked at Michael. I shook my head gently. "I won't give you a Band-Aid," I said. "Not now, not ever again." Michael didn't look surprised. Blood was still smeared across his skin. He let out a dry, almost mocking laugh. "Got it." His eyes dimmed instantly like a star falling from the sky. After school, Flora cornered me at the back door of the classroom. "Let's talk," she said. This time she wasn't smiling. Her expression was serious. I was honestly getting fed up. Why did they keep coming to me one after another? Was I some kind of checkpoint in their relationship? They could date all they wanted, and I was just trying to focus on school. We clearly had nothing to do with each other anymore. So why was one stopping me today and the other asking to talk tomorrow? Flora looked at me with a somber gaze. After a long silence, she said, "I really don't understand. What is it about you that makes him think about you all the time?" I almost laughed. "You don't have to beat around the bush. Just say what you want to say." Her face darkened. She glared at me and spat. "You must be feeling pretty smug, huh? Sure, Michael's dating me now, but it's obvious he still likes you. Just seeing you with another guy is enough to send him into depression. You've been ignoring me for days. I don't get what's so great about your stuck-up little princess act. He was just worked up when he slapped you. It was a mistake, and you cut him off completely over that. You really threw away a childhood friendship just because your precious pride got hurt. You're so vain, so selfish and petty. Flora fired off her words like she was the one who had been wronged. I listened quietly until she was done. Then I said calmly, "You don't need to test me. I'm not getting back with him." She froze. I smiled. "It must be pretty awkward, huh? Getting sent by your boyfriend to check how his childhood friend feels about him. But don't worry, I meant it when I said we're strangers now. That's for life. When I say I'm done, I'm done. I don't recycle garbage. Tell Michael I said that. I still mean it. Stay the hell away from me." Flora's face twisted with a mix of guilt, humiliation, and confusion. As I walked away, I heard her voice behind me, sharp with disbelief. "Jenny, all because of one slap? Just because he hit you once?" "Yes," I said again without hesitation, "just because of that one slap." That night, I got a call from an unknown number. I didn't think much of it and picked up. "Jenny, it's Michael." It must have been a new number, probably a new SIM card. "Are you serious?" I snapped. "Haven't you done enough?" I was about to hang up when he said quickly, "Wait, just listen." I went silent. "I read the journal," he said after a pause. His voice was... My mind went blank for a moment, but I quickly understood what he meant. That journal, the one I wrote, there was only one. Michael had given it to me when I turned 10. I had treasured it ever since and developed a habit of writing in it over the years. That journal held all the memories of my feelings for him. I wrote everything, every little moment I had with him, every second I liked him. I even imagined that one day after we got married, I would give it to him. It was going to be my long, heartfelt confession. I thought I threw it away. "I picked it up that day," he said, voice trembling. "Jenny, I'm sorry. I read your journal. I had no idea you liked me that much. I'm so sorry for ignoring it all this time. The day I slapped you, I regretted it immediately. And honestly, I've never seen you as just a little sister." I cut him off. "When did you pick it up?" The line went quiet. "It's been a while, hasn't it?" I laughed. "Then why are you only calling me tonight? Is it because you just opened it today?" His voice sounded weak. "It's because I've been in a relationship. I didn't. You didn't feel the urgency before, but now, for the first time, you feel threatened that your place in my life is actually being replaced. So, tonight, months later, you suddenly got the urge to humble yourself and finally read that dusty old journal." "Jenny, no, it's not." I didn't let him finish. My tone was calm and steady. "Michael, you should know this by now. A late apology and a long overdue confession won't change anything. Clinging to that journal would only make the remaining memories feel awkward and misplaced. It doesn't mean anything anymore. You should throw it away. Don't call me again. Don't come looking for me either. I'm really tired of it." I hung up the call. My birthday was a week away. My parents were throwing a party and told me to invite classmates. At first, I didn't want to invite Michael or anyone from his circle, but since they'd been keeping their distance lately, I figured there was no need to stir up drama. So I handed out invitations to everyone equally. Carson shamelessly asked me for one too, and I gave it to him. On the day of the party, I dressed up and attended as the birthday girl. Michael came too. He wore a suit, and Flora clung to his arm, perfectly made up and practically glued to his side. She was holding on to him tightly, as if trying to eliminate every inch of space between them. Michael's face was expressionless. I didn't greet them. I walked straight over to the adults. The party was fun, though a little exhausting. At some point, I stepped out alone onto the terrace to get some fresh air and rest. The breeze was cool and calming. Then I heard footsteps behind me. I didn't want to admit it, but after all these years, I still recognized his footsteps right away. He stopped behind me and said in a hoarse voice, "Can we talk?" I turned around. Michael's eyes were red. I kept my face neutral. "Sure," I said flatly. "But if we're going to talk, I hope this is the last time." He looked pale. He gave a bitter, self-deprecating smile. "Does it really have to be like this between us, Jenny? No matter how much I beg, will you never forgive me?" I looked away. "I don't get it." He went on, "Didn't you always like me? You know I like you too. We were this close to confessing to each other. Why are you treating me like this?" He finally said it for the first time. He admitted he liked me too. But even in this moment, with everything laid bare, he still asked the same question. Is it really just because of that slap? And just like before, I didn't hesitate. I nodded. Yes, just because of that slap. But that day, I heard something. It wasn't just that Michael had lost his temper. I had overheard something. It was a few days before everything happened. I saw Michael walking home with Flora again. I felt uneasy, so I followed them. Michael and a few of his close friends had taken Flora to a hot pot restaurant. As they ate, they talked and laughed. Isn't that the childhood sweetheart? Been following you since elementary school. Still likes you, doesn't she? Obviously, in class. She only talks to you. She's been chasing you for 9 years now. How are you still not dating her? Michael had chuckled and replied casually, Yeah, I like her, but I don't really want to date her. She's way too sensitive. It's a hassle. The table erupted in laughter. Damn, bro. Aren't you worried she'll stop liking you if you keep stringing her along like this? Michael just smirked. Girls like her. Once they fall, they stick. You can't shake them off. Then Flora's voice joined in. Light and teasing. Totally. I know her type so well. The kind of girl who loves pink buys everything in pink. Delicate and needy. Always depending on others. No matter how cold Michael is to her, the second he's even a little nice, she melts. Even now that I'm this close to him, she still tries to get closer. And I remember thinking, no, knowing what came next. Even if you slapped her in public, just apologize and she'll be fine. Seriously, that dumb. Hey, Michael, want to try it out? Slap her and see what happens. I bet a girl like her would burst into tears on the spot. I held my breath. In that noisy hot pot restaurant, Michael's voice was the clearest of all. Try it then, he said with a casual laugh. Now standing in front of me, Michael looked completely panicked. His hands were trembling slightly. Jenny, no, listen to me, he pleaded. I only said that stuff because I wanted to save face. I didn't mean it. I don't think that way. I didn't deny it. There was no point. I just stared at him and said quietly, Didn't you always say talking behind someone's back was wrong? Look at yourself. Are you any better? All color drained from his face. I let out a long sigh. It was strange. Back then, I'd been furious and heartbroken, but now I didn't feel a thing. It was like watching someone else's life unfold. I know you like me, I said. But I also know you wavered, right? For a moment, you thought Flora was great too. You liked her. You liked her enough to want to impress her. That's normal, Michael. You like me because we grew up together. Because I'm pretty and I loved you with all my heart. So yes, you had feelings for me. But deep down, we weren't right for each other. You think I'm beautiful, but you still see me as fragile, a girl with princess syndrome. You think I'm childish because I like pink. That I'm not strong enough, not as capable as you guys, the so-called real men. That's why in the end you were drawn to someone like Flora. If it wasn't her, it would have been someone else. Another bold, unfiltered girl, different from other girls but still beautiful. But you shouldn't have stepped on me just to lift yourself up. I let out a cold laugh. How dare you slap me? Don't you know no one's ever laid a hand on me before? What makes you think you have the right? Tell me, Michael, why did you think you could hit me? His face was filled with guilt and shame. I'd hit a nerve, the darkest, most selfish part of him, and he had no excuse. I looked at him directly. Finally, he just stood there. A single tear slipped down his cheek. Jenny, do you not love me anymore? I never loved you, I said without hesitation. Michael's lips turned pale. He stared at me in disbelief. I met his gaze. I used to like you, I said. I've liked you since elementary school, and my feelings never depended on anything you did. They grew on their own. They were rooted in the fantasy I created about you, so they didn't need your response. Just my love was enough, but not long ago I gave that up. Why? He murmured like someone sleepwalking. Why did it end? Every time I see your face, my heart still aches. I didn't respond. Michael's face finally lost all its color. Later on, Michael and Flora broke up. I don't know why, but suddenly he was doing things that reminded me of our childhood. There was one boy who used to sit behind me. He pulled my hair, stuck gum on my chair, even snuck firecrackers into my desk. Now, Michael started buying me my favorite breakfast every morning. At lunch, he'd save the most popular dishes for me. After school, he followed me from a distance, saying he wanted to protect me. It felt like we were back in elementary school. Only this time, he was even more attentive than before. I asked him what he was doing. He just shook his head and looked at me with sorrowful eyes. Eventually, he said he just wanted to make it up to me, to take care of me. To be honest, no one could make him stop. No one could talk sense into him. It only made things worse. Around that time, my parents' company had an unexpected opportunity. They were going to be relocated to my mom's hometown by the sea. We decided to move before my final year of high school. We transferred to a school in that coastal city. I didn't tell anyone in advance. Over the weekend, I quietly messaged a few close friends to say goodbye. Michael was the last to find out. I don't know how he managed it, but on the day we left, he chased after our car for what felt like forever. I sat in the front passenger seat, staring at the rearview mirror. I watched him run with everything he had, arms outstretched as if begging me to stop. I saw his face drenched in tears, pale and desperate. "Don't go. Please don't go. I haven't even told you," but the wind was too strong. It carried away his last cry. And then the boy who had been with me for more than a decade fell. He got up, trembling, stumbling, smaller and smaller until he was just a blurry black dot in the distance. And then he disappeared. Afterward, I'd occasionally hear about Michael from old classmates. Some said he fell into depression, lost all motivation. Others said he spiraled, dated dozens of girls. Still others claimed he changed completely, buried himself in studying like he'd finally found a purpose. I didn't keep track of him after that. After college entrance exams, I got into a university in a coastal city. I was full of hope and ready for a new future. Coincidentally, Carson ended up at the same school. When he saw me again, he began pursuing me enthusiastically. During the first 2 years of college, every birthday, I'd receive an anonymous package. Sometimes it was a handmade doll I'd once mentioned on social media. Other times it was a dress I'd wanted but never managed to buy. I accepted them all but never opened them. They piled up in the corner of my dorm. Then in junior year, I said yes to Carson. At his insistence, I posted a relationship photo on my feed. After that, the anonymous gifts stopped and that was fine. It was long overdue. This is where it ends.